Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another session of Weathertex Wednesday live webinar. My name's Jason O'Hagan, Managing Director of Weathertex. Today we're talking about designing the future around sustainable thinking. And joining is Jamie Durie, OAM designer, author, TV presenter, and many other things. Jamie, thanks for joining us, mate.
I think Jamie's still in the backstage, Jason. Let me
Oh,
go and get him.
sure, yeah. Get him online with you. One moment, everyone. We'll grab Jamie from the backstage. While Jamie's coming on, the session we're going to be
Right.
covering today, we're going to explore how sustainability is reshaping the way homes are designed and specified and built. And I'll talk to Jamie around conversation around focusing on practical, real world applications around sustainable thinking. Talk about his TV show that just finished called Future House and the house that he redesigned in Bangalore and the experiences he had around sustainable building or material choices, construction methods, and how design intent can collectively contribute to a healthier, resilient, and getting more future-ready homes built quickly, particularly in the prefab space. Jamie, you
Hi,
join us here.
hi everyone. Great to be here. Thanks so much for having me, Jason. And
Thanks, Jamie. Thanks for joining us,
it,
mate. And I'll give it a bit of a brief and introduction around, the TV show Future House, TV, your place at Bangalore. But we'll move into a question initially for the audience, mate, was how your work has always blended design with nature, the house in Sydney and this one here. How has your approach to construction and sustainability evolved over the years?
Look, I think what's been fantastic about this project is it's been the culmination of everything I've learned through starting out in the world of horticulture and as a horticulturalist, and then a landscape architect, and then moving into industrial design, and then building design. It's kind of um, I guess, coerced me to blend all of my sustainable solutions into a built form that operates in a very effective way, so that we're treading more lightly on the planet. Where we're not just auditing the energy use of the particular home, and the project we did here is not only completely grid independent, i.e. it's got 75 solar panels and a SIG energy battery that gives us about 150 kilowatts a day. And I think the average household requires about 17. So we've got more energy than we need, but we've been able to partner up with people like yourself, Jason, who are managing the material usage and the sustainability factor behind those material usages before we even bring it to site. So we know that we're reducing the impact on the environment by using a waste product, and your product uses branches and timber refuse, I guess, that isn't good enough to go into the timber industry. So it gets
Yes.
grinded up into pulp and then heated up and mixed with things like paraffin oil in a very natural way to give us an end product to clad both the interior and the exterior of our home with zero VOC, no volatile organic compounds, and a fantastic way of bringing something natural into the home that would have gone into landfill. That's a great sustainability story, and I think that's something that everyone needs to think about in terms of selection of materials when you're taking that into architecture.
Yeah, Jamie did a tour of our factory just before the TV show, and we talked about our product and the sustainability of it. 97% hardwood, 3% wax, and we're in the board machine, and so Jamie grabs a piece out off the board machine and says, "Is that sustainable? Is it?" He said, "It's okay to eat." So you're okay still, mate. Everything's been good since then. No problems.
I did eat it. I'm fine, mate. It was not unlike chewing tobacco. Not that I've ever tasted that before, but it was like but there was no chemicals in it whatsoever. It was safe enough to eat. And I guess that's uh, um, that proof is in the pudding. If it's safe enough
Yeah.
to ingest, then it's certainly safe enough to sit inside and outside my home with my family. And that's really the point that I wanted to make by pulling off that stunt,
Yeah.
because It is all about the ingredients, and it is all about a careful way of extracting um, materials from our planet that don't impact our planet.
Just leading into that, what inspired Future House, the program, and what are the key messages that you wanted the industry to take from the series that you produced?
Look, I think what's been really inspiring about not just the home that we built here, but the homes that some of the other families built, and we followed their story on Channel 9.
Yeah.
And this year we'll be doing another series, which will be series 2 of Future House on Channel 9, and go to air just after the block, towards the mid to end of this year. And I think the beautiful thing about it is that we're able to showcase a whole range of materials and methods and procedures and environmental technology to not only help our building industry create less impact on the environment, but to make them feel as if they're creating less impact and creating a more energy efficient home, that isn't using a virgin material, that's using a waste product and turning waste into wonderful. And
Yeah.
that's really the auditing process that we've been using, not just on my home, but on across all the family's homes, so that everyone's able to use these products in some small way in an effective use, that proves you can, with the right selection, select the right materials for the right place by creating less impact on the environment.
I think you've answered this question, Jamie, but from a designer and a specifier perspective, what does, there's a lot of greenwashing that goes on with building materials, but what
Yeah.
does true sustainability in materials actually look like today in what you've just experienced?
Well, it's an interesting point, and there is a hell of a lot of greenwashing out there in the industry, and you've got to be very, very careful about who you partner with, what materials you use, and really ask those tough questions. What does FSC certification mean on timbers? The Forestry Stewardship Council stamp means that this product's coming from a sustainable source of timber that's been grown for a particular use, rather than mining virgin forests to make our homes look pretty. So we ask the tough questions. Sustainability to me is making sure that every material that you put into the project is audited, and that it's got eco ethics behind it, and that the design and the architecture and the way that you've utilized that within the architecture gives you the maximum energy efficiency and the maximum insulative qualities within the home, place less impact on our energy usage, because it's not just whether the products exude VOC, it's how they perform in the energy efficiency end usage of the home.
Yeah.
And that to me is sustainability on 2 levels.
And I mean, you've got a role of low toxicity and natural products, and that plays a critical role in the healthy living environments of the home as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Talk about your house
The
at
average,
Bangalow.
yeah.
You had a unique design with the printing, and so talk about how that evolved, mate, and how that came
Yeah.
out.
Can everyone hear me okay, by the way? My reception's not fabulous out here on the
You
farm.
you're okay, Jamie. Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
I saw a comment come up earlier and they're saying, "Oh, can everyone hear?" Okay. Look, we used a concrete 3D printing machine, and that was provided by Contour 3D, out of southern Sydney. And the interesting thing about that product, or that printing method, is that we weren't only able to print all the columns and all the walls of the house within 5 days, but we were also able to use up to 60% fly ash and slag substitutes for cement, so that we're reducing the carbon emissions of that cement that we were using by partnering up with Wholesome, and making sure that the amount of cement that we use has been reduced by 60%, i.e., that's, I guess, what you could call it, the dirty part of the concrete industry. It's the cement because it's fired at 1150 degrees, and there's carbon offsets. There's carbon that comes off of that when you burn at that temperature. So the less cement we can use, and the more substitutes we can find to substitute cement, the more sustainable it becomes. Now, Holcim have done a great job in even experimenting with 100% reduced carbon concrete, and they're doing that at their facility in Switzerland right now. So it's companies like yourselves at WeatherTex and Holcim and a whole range of others that are at the forefront of this industry. And I just saw a comment come up. Um, it's hard getting engineers to qualify using fly ash and slag within your cement. Actually, it's not. The concrete that we used from Holcim is called EcoPact Max, and that gets up to a 70% reduced carbon concrete, and that is approved by all engineers across the country. It's been used in commercial projects, domestic projects, civil landscapes, high-rise buildings, you name it. It's commercially used right across the country. It's just that nobody knows too much about this reduced carbon concrete stuff, much the same as, because they're not asking the questions. How do I find the greenest concrete I possibly can?
Gina just asked, what was the name of the concrete
Gina,
again?
I'm just answering some of these questions.
Yeah, you go.
Gina, the name of that concrete is called EcoPact, EcoPact Max, EcoPact Max, and that product is from Holcim, Holcim.
And I'll get the other message, the key message you had in the Future House program was around, Australia has to build a lot more homes. So then a lot of message was around the quickness of using particular prefab was one of the key modular homes getting built, and the speed of construction, Jamie.
Yeah, no, it is. Yeah. And look, we save time through using WeatherTex, both interior and exterior. And not only did we save time, but we saved money, right? So yes, we were focusing on a prefabrication process whereby all the columns and all the walls were printed in a factory in Sydney and then brought to the site and simply placed on site, and then we put the roof on. And so we didn't have any site delays with rain or trades not turning up or any of those issues. It was all done in a controlled environment, and bang, it was done. It's not just fly ash that goes into this concrete as a substitute for cement, by the way. It's also slag, and they are byproducts of the steel industry and the coal industry. And the great thing about, that process is it allowed us to kind of reduce the overall footprint of the building in the same way that we used WeatherTex, both interior and exterior. The WeatherTex interior, everyone loves because it comes pre-sealed. They walk inside my home and they see these 3D printed columns and then these natural timber WeatherTex, panels that we didn't have to hire a gyprocker for, by the way. We have no gyprock walls whatsoever in the entire house. The only gyprock that we used, or the plaster that we used, was the ceilings. The rest of the whole house, my bedrooms, all the hallways, all the common areas, even the front door, either side of the front door, both interior and exterior, was your WeatherTex.
Yeah,
and
we're for everyone, we're visiting this house on the late May, 26th of May. So we're going to be filming and having a look at the finished product, which we can't wait to do, and we'll share it with everyone once we finish the filming.
Yeah. No, it's going to be great. I think what's really positive about the way that we've used the product is that we've tried to utilize it in ways that other people may not have thought of before. Like, for instance, all the bulkheads within the ceilings, we've actually used WeatherTex to clad those bulkheads to accept our energy efficient air conditioning systems, right? And our HVAC systems. So it's
amazing.
We've even used it on the walls of our pantry. We've used it down the hallways, and it's a fabulous way of taking a natural material outside into the interior, and you feel like the house has a natural connection to the environment because you're using something natural. And the fact that it's pre-sealed means I'm cutting out another trade. I'm cutting out a painter, and I'm cutting out a gyprocker or a plasterer. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Great.
absolutely. I can't wait to see
Save
the
me a
finished
ton.
product. It sounds amazing. There's a question here. Oh, sorry. First of all, Emily, I'll get back to you separate to that because it's a pretty detailed process around the paraffin wax and that question. So I'll come back to you separate on that one. There's a question from Gary. Prefab works well on a greenfield sites, yet in suburban situations with tight sites, the prefab is harder to achieve. You got a comment on that, Jamie?
Um, I wouldn't say prefab's hard to achieve. I think if your measurements measure twice, cut once, right? If your measurements are correct and it all fits with the overall architecturally designed building, there's no reason why you can't prefab your entire house these days. You know, uh, we're even building all of our internal doors. We're using solid core doors and we're cladding those with Weathertex both indoor and on both sides to give it more of a solid, unique, harmonious feel. So it's
Mm,
tied in, right? I would consider that prefabbing, right? Because we're building them inside in a controlled environment, and everything else that we've brought inside the house has come from a factory that's been brought on board. And we were able to get the house to lock up in 38 days. You tell me a house that's been able to achieve those sorts of targets. Sure, we've had a bit of finishing off to do this year in the beginning of the year, but we've now got a finished home. You know that my last house cost. Uh, I think we were 3 years in construction, whereas this house we were 3 months. It's pretty
yeah,
amazing.
yeah. You mentioned, I mean, construction materials and trends. Is there any other particular products or construction or material trends that you're seeing emerge in Australia apart from what you've just mentioned in your future show?
Um, Look, a lot of people, I guess, aren't really aware of um, thermally broken windows. Um, we were able to work really closely with some fabulous partners who've been experimenting not just with thermally broken frames in the extrusions of the aluminium,
Mm,
um, meaning that, and this is Dowell, by the way, Dowell. Dowell have not only been using thermally broken frames so that when the sun hits the glass, it heats up the aluminium frame and it transfers that heat directly through to the interiors, meaning you lose some of that insulative quality of having a double glazed window. The idea of having a thermally broken frame, which not a lot of people know about, is that there's a gasket in between that frame and it stops the heat transfer or the cold transfer between outdoors and in. Then you're getting a more thermally efficient home. They've taken this one step further and started to develop a a louver that has a dual glazing to it. So even though you're able to open up this louver, when you close it up, it becomes a double glazed window with a 50 millimeter void of air in between it that gives you
right.
a higher insulated quality, even though it's a louver. This is the first time in Australia to ever use that technology.
That's
And
impressive.
we put it into a wind tunnel and we threw 1100 kilometer winds at it and rain.
Mm,
And I think we took, and there's no storm out there that will, by the way, deliver that sort of wind strength.
sure.
I think the maximum was, God, from memory now, I think it was about 700 kilometers. I think that's max. But it took it up to 1170 kilometers until we actually broke those panels because it's 6 millimeter toughened glass. Now,
Mm,
that to me is great eco ethics and fantastic eco innovation. And that's the sort of stuff we're looking for on Future House. How do we evolve our houses? How do we learn how to make them more efficient and more durable and more stormproof? Because with increased weather events, we've got to think about how long these homes last. And the longer they last, the less we have to renovate and detonate, right?
absolutely.
And that's and that reduces waste as well. So, you know, I don't I can't recall exactly what your guarantees are or what your on WeatherTex, Jason, but refresh my memory again in
We're
terms.
25 years.
Yeah, I mean, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You know, give me another form of cladding that'll give you that.
Yeah. No, 25 years.
That's made of a
There's
natural material.
a comment here about prefab is great, but I think it's more of a comment around prefab supply. I said one here with small suppliers doing thermally broken frames, they have become more affordable to projects, whereas 10 years ago they weren't affordable. So,
Yeah.
which is true. Um, yes, there are a lot of customers, prefab customers, using WeatherTex for their well, we'll get back to you, Gavin, and give you the details of those. And due to WeatherTech's lightweight, density, flexibility, and versatility, WeatherTech's ideal cladding for prefab projects. Thank you very much. That is so true. Mate, just in closing, Jamie, there's what a client, if you talked about clients and the people you've met and dealing with, client expectations are shifting when it comes to sustainability and long-term performance. So all the things you just mentioned about products, are clients' expectations changing in line with what you're talking about?
Look, I think they are. Yeah, I mean, look, the we're no longer kind of thinking about one product for one use. We're thinking about versatility, and rather than having 10 different products being delivered from 10 different destinations to the site and all the carbon emissions around delivery included on that, you know, I simply ordered one product and I've used it in probably 12 different ways. And I'm talking about WeatherTex, right? But um, I think architects are becoming more flexible and more open-minded around using utilitarian products that may be perceived as exterior cladding, such as yourself,
Yeah,
in an interior world. And it looks fantastic because you're taking the outdoors in, which is kind of where I built my business 25 years ago. You know, the outdoor room has now become a real thing because we are all intrinsically connected to nature. And I think if we can start pull some of those hues, the textures, the colors, and even the imagery into our homes, we are instantly connected to a
yes,
greater sense of well-being by mentally surrounding ourselves with a natural product. And that's what I like about the way that the industry's heading. We're not so close-minded about innovating and using utilitarian products in an interior way. We're seeing rammed earth walls in bedrooms now. You know,
yeah,
we're seeing waxed concrete off-form slabs that are forming decorative walls in the middle of living rooms. You know, so we're starting to really get courageous with these use of materials, and that's
yeah.
what I like about the industry.
And a good point, a lot of people see WeatherTex as an external cladding, which predominantly it is used for. But as you mentioned and how you've used it in various ways, we're getting specified and being used internally in a lot more features and applications nowadays. And
Yeah.
the thinking's changing, like you've just described, to use your house at Bangalow.
Well, I mean, we got a quote to make up all of our internal doors. I think there was probably 14 of them. And in the end, I just went and bought solid core doors from Bunnings,
Mm,
you know,
it's a
at
great
the
concept,
lowest
actually.
price
Yeah.
possible. At the lowest price possible. And then we clad both sides with WeatherTex,
Yeah.
and it looks $1 million.
And what's a ready door worth now? Still $40? I don't know, $50 for one of those?
But that's it,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So I was able to avoid, I think the quote we got on those doors was around $1,700 each. When really I had what's the cost of an average WeatherTex panel, by the way?
I could take $200.
Okay.
Mm,
So for the price of 400 bucks, for, what is it? 480 bucks
mm,
instead of 1,700.
yeah,
We got a beautiful solid door that matches the rest of the house
yes.
in WeatherTex. It's beautiful.
Thanks for the comments about people choosing and specifying WeatherTex in the comments there, Gary, Gavin, Nat. We thank you. We got a Bell 19 rating, so yeah, anything above Bell 19 we're not used. And David, yeah, it is a pity about the village project in WA. We went. Well, I don't understand why they didn't specify us, given the nature of the project, but that's a different story again. Jamie, just in closing. Um, What's next for Jamie Durie? You mentioned your TV show coming up later this year. Is there any other little projects that's on the drawing board or
Yeah.
anything else you'd like to share with everyone?
Yeah, no, certainly. We've got another project here on the farm. which will be quite exciting. I think people loved seeing, you know, the cattle and the sheep and the ducks and the geese and everything else that happens at farms, and Durie acting like a bit of a farmer. You know, I'm probably the worst farmer on the planet, but I'm pretty good at growing things. So I think what I'm focusing on this year is I want to build the infinity garden. I want to teach people the importance of where food comes from. I want to take the chemicals out of our food chain. I want to grow a 365-day a year vegetable and fruit garden. And I've started planting already. And we're going to showcase that this year. And then I'm going to build a wellness center in my backyard. And it'll be the house with no walls, where you feel like you're working out in the exterior. So how do you live forever? You take all the chemicals out of your food chain, you grow your own food, you learn what a real tomato tastes like, you show the kids where food comes from, and you make sure you move every day, because otherwise we seize up, don't we, Jace?
We do seize up, particularly as we get to our age, mate. And
so that's coming to air later on Channel 9 this year, Future House. They've given us more episodes, even better time slot straight after the block, and I can't wait to share this project and about 5 others of people building really amazing green projects across the country this year. Future House.
Mate, just one question before comment. Did you have any issues with the certification of your home?
Certainly not, no.
No. Okay.
I mean, we're still in the process of achieving OC, but really that has to do with plumbing and bits and pieces. But in terms of certification with our 3D printed components is where I think the question might have come from. No, we used, you know, proper structural piers. All the 3D components were literally sleeves, and all the walls were 3D printed but core filled with steel. So they're giving us all the same 65 MPa compactive strength, but we were able to print them in a factory environment in 5 days. So why not? Let's learn how to build more cost-effective, energy-efficient homes in controlled environments and embrace some of this new eco-innovation that's at the forefront of our building industry.
Great conversations, mate. We appreciate you. I know you have to head off to the airport. Excuse me. So thanks for joining us.
No problem.
Just for everyone, we've got an open day at our factory. So we're opening up our factory to everybody on the 10th of June. So we've got the link in the comments there in the questions, so you can hop on and come and have a look at how Weathertex is made, and we'll take you for a factory tour. So, Jamie,
am I coming to that, Jace?
you're most welcome.
I heard you were putting a
you
few
wish to.
snags on.
We'll get some snags going for you. Well, we'll just throw a bit of Weathertex in it on the barbecue as well.
Yeah, I'd like my snags roasted in Weathertex fibers. Thank
Wonderful. A better choice, naturally, of course.
Good on you, Jace.
Mate, we'll see you soon. Thanks, Jamie.
Cheers. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.